Sergeant Isaac Fabunin. I'm currently a JROTC instructor at Oak Grove High School. I've been there since 2012. Previously to that, I was in the United States Air Force. I served 30 years and decided late in my career that I wanted to mentor and coach students. So I am not only the aerospace science instructor at Oak Grove, but I'm also the girls and guys varsity volleyball coach.
So, what in your past for during the Air Force, what made you into going into volleyball?
Okay, so that's a long story. This was back when I was stationed in Spain back in the mid 80s. Yes, I'm old. But I was actually playing basketball, and this old Hawaiian guy saw me go for a rebound, and he thought I was actually from Hawaii, so he came up to me and he asked me if I was from Hawaii, and I go, no, I'm not from Hawaii. He goes, oh. Then he asked me if I actually played volleyball, and I go, no, I don't play volleyball. He goes, oh. And then he turned again and he goes, do you want to learn? What he was doing was putting together an Air Force team to compete with other Air Force bases. And I said, sure, yeah, I'll learn. And so our first tournament was actually in Athens, Greece. So here I am, this young kid, learning a game, loved it. First tournament was in Athens, Greece. Second tournament was in England. So made me fall in love with the game even more. So the combination of that and the job I was doing made me re-enlist in the Air Force. So 4 years turned into 8 years turned into 12, and before you knew it, I was doing 30 years in the Air Force.
Amazing. So from traveling around in Europe and just with the Air Force of volleyball, what did you get to meet new people and learn many other ethnic groups and just learn new things?
You know, that's probably the funnest part of visiting different countries. You learn the cultures. And even better than that was being part of a team, right? And so even within our team, you learn so many cultures. I have met, the Air Force is a very diverse organization, right? Mm-hmm. So even playing volleyball, my teammates were from Hawaii, from Guam, from Samoa, from Tonga, just from all over the United States. So I was able to form a lot of bonds with people from different places, and that was unique, and it was a great experience. And so to this day, I mean, I keep in touch with a lot of friends that I've made throughout my Air Force career. Some of my closest friends are friends that I met through volleyball.
Wow. So from joining the Air Force, what made you decide, and what was that main decision that wanted you to go into the Air Force?
Okay, so after I graduated from high school, I went to a year of college at Long Beach State, and I had very long hours. I'd work in the morning from 6 to 10, go to school from 10 to 5, go back to work from 6 to 10 at night. So that eventually caught up to me. Mm-hmm. I did okay for a semester, and then second semester I started to get burned out. Mm-hmm. And I also wasn't really enjoying the major, what I was studying. Yeah. I really wanted to get into working on airplanes. Yeah. So I looked into some aviation schools, and they were very expensive. So that's what made me think about the Air Force. So I went to talk to a recruiter. I took the test. I said that I'm not going to join unless I get this specific job, which was an avionics career. I did well on the test. Yeah. So I had my choice. So I signed up. My mom wasn't too happy about it, but I ended up joining the Air Force. The intent was to go in for 4 years, learn a job, get out, finish up more schooling. But as I said, the volleyball and the job thing made me stay in. I ended up earning my degrees while I was in the Air Force because they pay 100% tuition.
Wow.
So I ended up getting my bachelor's degree and my master's degree while I was in the Air Force.
Wow.
So that worked out well.
Oh, that sounds
okay. And not only that, but I climbed all the way to the top rank that you can get in the enlisted force, which is Chief Master Sergeant.
Wow.
Which only the top 1% make. right? Only the top 1% make it to chief. So that part of it is, I'm pretty proud of that. And even my students, my ROTC students, even my players call me chief or coach chief.
Yeah.
Right?
From climbing all the way there, what was the main intent? Like, what was hard from climbing to the top of the ranking?
Well, so obviously, as you progress in rank, the harder it gets, right? So what they're looking for is your education, that you're good on the job, that you show some leadership potential, because as you go up the ranks, you lead and manage more people, right? So you have to develop, you have to be a well-rounded person, you have to show some leadership skills, you have to be able to you have to know your job, you have to be an expert at your job. But they're looking for well-rounded people so that you can mentor others, right? And kind of have them follow in your footsteps. So the testing part, you have to test. There's different things that you have to do to actually promote, especially to the top 3 ranks. You have to test. You have to meet a board. Your records go meet a board, and you get a weighted score, all right?
Yeah.
That combines all of those things, and that's how you actually make rank to the top 3%. Fortunately, my records were pretty darn good. So
Really? That's good.
I made it to the top.
Awesome. So from learning volleyball from a new person that wanted you to just try a new sport, what made you desire to teach it after that?
Good question, right? Believe it or not, when I first started, as short as I am, I actually started off as a middle hitter, which is usually reserved for bigger players.
Yeah.
Right. But back then, I had a pretty good vertical, right? But I also had the white guy who say, hey, you know what? Eventually, you should learn how to set. You know, because really, for your size and for your athletic ability, that's probably the ideal position for you. So here I am. I learned how to play middle, did a little bit of outside, and then finally I learned how to set, which was the position that I stayed in for a very long time. So I played for quite a few years. Everywhere I changed stations, my permanent station, I went looking for volleyball teams. So at each base that I went to, I made the base volleyball team, and then we traveled all over the place. So eventually you get too old, right? So eventually when you get older and you're more experienced, you not only play, but you coach. So I started doing player-coach kind of stuff.
I see.
Right?
Yeah.
And when I got to Dias, I actually met up with a guy I used to play against, and he was really into officiating. In fact, he's one of the top officials in the U.S. He's the top guy for beach volleyball, for refereeing.
Wow.
So he took me under his wing. He remembered me, took me under his wing, taught me how to referee.
Wow.
And so then I got into refereeing. So I was refereeing in high school, college, club.
Wow.
So knowing all these different aspects of the game made me ideal for coaching. All right, so and it's something that I definitely wanted to get into.
Yeah. So from coaching, meeting new kids who are interested in the sport, from teaching, do you learn new things from themselves?
Yeah. So every team that I coach, I talk about humility, right? And like humility is something that you learn to learn from other people. You know that you don't know everything.
Yeah,
right?
of course.
So I tell my students all the time, I learn from you guys. Right? I learn from you guys every single day. I tell my players, I learn stuff from you every single day. All right? Whether it's, I could teach this a little bit better, or maybe I should use this technique to coach this fundamental a little bit better. So yeah, I'm always looking to improve myself. All right? So I definitely learn from other coaches too. I learn from other coaches. I learn from watching other teams. I learn from watching volleyball, and I learn from my players.
So, if you were able to give advice to young people who are willing to go or going to go to college, what would you say for them to achieve their goals?
Okay, I have so much advice.
Oh yeah,
I have so much advice. I mean, anywhere from your attitude matters. Attitude is everything. Your values matter. I just spoke to my kids this week about how important work ethic is, and that I know that when I was growing up that I had a job, and a lot of teenagers these years don't do that. They don't have jobs, so they don't learn some valuable skills of responsibility, of building a work ethic. So I tell them that you got to find that type of stuff where you're actually working for something. My ROTC kids, we make them work. So they run the Corps, they inventory uniforms, they hand out uniforms, they clean up their lounge. So they're learning the value of work and developing a work ethic and developing responsibility and developing other rights.
What would you want them to focus on mainly, or maybe even extracurricular activities? What would you say that will help them mainly for college?
Well, I definitely think that extracurricular activities are really important, right? It's going to, like I said, the well-rounded person is going to add to that, to being well-rounded. But I guess I will try to make sure that they develop all of their skills.
Okay. So, for just a general question, if you, for AVID, it's advanced via individual determination. That's the acronym. And for ROTC, can you explain to us what do you guys do for that program?
Okay, so for ROTC, our whole motto is developing citizens of character. And we do that by teaching them, we kind of use some military training, but we teach them our Air Force core values. All right, first off, that's one of the first things we teach them when they get into the classrooms, our core values. And they have to know these core values. They have to live these core values. We feel that the core values are kind of like a structure to build on, right, through their whole high school career. All right, so these core values are integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do. All right, so integrity first is kind of like the inner voice that's telling you, hey, you need to do the right thing. You need to be honest. You need to be trustworthy, right, which is really a really important value.
Yeah.
Right. Service before self. Serving others is really important. All right, so we feel that community service is really important. We feel that participating in school events is really important. And then excellence in all we do. It's not only about doing the best that you can do, giving your best effort. What you put in is what you get out. What you give is what you get. But also looking at trying to improve things, right? Not just being satisfied with the status quo. If you see something that's wrong with the school process, speak on it, right? That's what excellence in all we do is all about, not just being satisfied, well, that's just the way it is. No, that's not just the way it is. You have a voice. So that's what we try to teach them that as well.
To become more open, I see. So since ROTC and AVID, they're in a similar way. They are both setting a goal. But for AVID students, what would you say to them if you were to give them advice of pushing themselves towards college?
Okay, so I feel pretty strongly that you have to think. It's not like the old days when teachers would ask you, so what do you want to major in? What course of study do you want to pursue? I don't think it should be that. I think it should be, hey, look inside yourself and ask yourself, hey, what do I want to change in this world? What problems do I want to solve? What is it that's going to drive me? All right. So I had a nephew whose dad wanted him to be a doctor, and this kid was smart as heck. His dad wanted him to go to his alma mater, UCLA Medical Center, and he was good enough to get in. He got accepted.
Wow.
Went to a year of college, came back home. His father noticed that he wasn't, up to speed. So he asks him, "Hey, son, what's wrong?" He goes, I'm not really liking medical school." So he asks him, well, what do you want to do? He goes, well, actually, I really want to work on cars. All right. So you would think, I asked my students, I said, so what do you think his father told him? And usually, it just depends. But some students will say, "Well, he told him to get it together and go back to school. I want you to be a doctor."
Yeah.
His father actually told him, "Hey, listen, son, I'll support whatever you want to do. All right, if that's what you want to do, I'm behind you. All right, it's whatever's going to drive you. All right." So he drops out of UCLA.
Wow.
He goes to a technical school to learn auto mechanic. Right? So here we go. He starts working in that field. He climbs up, owns his own shop. Right?
Yeah.
Probably the smartest mechanic out there in LA.
Bet.
Buys another one. So he owns 3 shops. Right? But he's doing what he wanted to do. Right? He followed his passion. So I think for the students that I teach, I think you have to take that kind of road, right? You have to look deep inside of you. What strengths, what weaknesses do you have? What passions do you have? What problems do you want to solve? What do you want to change in this world? And follow that path.
Great. So, probably 2 more questions, and we'll be fine here. But for the young people today, like you said about striving and what would help them. But for our world today, what kind of society do you think will most young people will look into because of what our society is today?
Well, one thing I can say right now, we didn't have these things when I was growing up in high school.
Of course.
Right? So this is funny that you asked me this because I just talked about this with my students. Like, you know what they used for centuries and centuries and centuries as the main source of transportation? And they got it. I mean, some of the horses? Yeah, horses, right? And then all of a sudden they invented the car, right? And you know what they called the first car? A horseless carriage.
Yeah.
Right? And so this technology is just in the 20th century, and most kids don't even think about, oh my God, that 20th century, that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
But that's the century that I was raised in for most of the time, right? And so all this technology changes so fast, right? It just changes so fast. And so that's the kind of world that we live in. Our kids are living in a world where technology, and by the way, you guys are a lot smarter than us. No doubt about it, right? With all this technology stuff. But you have to stay in tune with what's going on. Things are changing so fast, and you have to stay up with that. I would say that, as I was saying, hey, be ready to be the changer, all right, to solve those kind of problems that we're going to need in the future, right?
Yeah.
Because technology is changing so fast.
It
So
is.
that's just one aspect.
I see. I mean, so another, like, to add on to that, it's like there's many kids who are getting influenced by mostly bad things, and like drugs, maybe very, very bad things. And for that, it's our society today. Even many kids are not going the straight path. They're going, maybe some are jumping out of high school. What do you think about that?
I think that's when mentoring can come in. That's when teachers can step in and talk about some of the things that I'm talking about, right? Being a mentor to them, teach them values, teach them the value of work ethic. All right, get involved. All right, get involved in school and in co-curricular activities and community service. Right, it teaches you some very important life skills that you're going to need. I think teachers and parents and mentors can have a voice in that. All right, so any opportunity I get to teach a life skill, I take it. In fact, every Monday in my class, at least, I do a Motivation Monday, and I try to teach some type of life skill, and I try to keep it current. Right. So anything that's happening in the world right now, we talk about it, and I try to tie it to some kind of life skill that they can develop.
Very nice.